You might have heard whispers. Whispers that a handful of Kennedy half-dollars, sitting quietly in collections or hidden in drawers, could be worth far more than anyone ever imagined. Imagine holding a coin that looks ordinary, but could secretly change your financial life forever. Today, we're talking about 5 rare Kennedy half-dollars that collectors dream about, coins so elusive, so mysterious, that stories of their incredible worth have been circulating for decades. Some say one of these coins could fetch a small fortune. Others claim that hidden within this set is a coin so rare, it might even be worth $1 million. That's right, a single half-dollar, tucked away unnoticed, with the potential to make headlines and turn someone into a collector's millionaire overnight. But here's the catch. Not all of these coins are obvious. They hide in plain sight, waiting for the right eye to spot their secrets. The design is familiar, the size ordinary. Yet each carries a story, a rarity, and a value that most people don't even know exists. Today, we're going to reveal the truth behind these 5 mysterious Kennedy half-dollars, uncover their real worth, and finally separate the myths from reality. Stay with me till the very end, because what you'll learn about these coins might just change the way you look at the ones sitting in your own collection. Let's move on our first coin. You might have heard whispers, soft rumors drifting through collector circles, comment sections, late-night YouTube videos, and eye-catching thumbnails claiming that an ordinary Kennedy half-dollar could secretly be worth thousands, maybe even millions. And among those whispers, the 1998 D. Kennedy half-dollar quietly appears again and again, never loudly, never officially, but always just enough to spark curiosity. Some people say modern coins can't be valuable. Others insist that hidden rarities still exist, waiting to shock the world. You may have looked at your own 1998 D. Kennedy half-dollar and wondered, is this just pocket change, or could this be something more? That question alone is why you need to stay with me till the very end. Because beneath this normal-looking 50-cent coin lies a story filled with history, speculation, real numbers, and a truth that most viral posts never explain properly. Before you believe the million-dollar claims, or before you dismiss this coin entirely, you deserve the full story. And today, we're going to unfold it slowly, carefully, piece by piece, until the real picture becomes clear. The 1998 D. Kennedy half-dollar comes from a period when these coins had already started disappearing from everyday use. Although still officially part of U.S. circulation, half-dollars by the late 1990s were rarely seen in pockets or cash registers. Most people saved them, ignored them, or placed them into collections without a second thought. This coin was struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark just beside Kennedy's portrait. The design itself carries deep emotional weight. The obverse features President John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts, a portrait that symbolizes hope, leadership, and a moment frozen in American history. On the reverse, the presidential seal stands bold and powerful, the eagle clutching arrows and an olive branch, surrounded by stars and authority. This design had already been in place for decades by 1998, but its impact never faded. Now here's something important most people don't realize. Even though millions of 1998 D. Kennedy half-dollars were produced, not all of them survived the same way. Many were scratched, dropped, stacked, or mishandled. Others were placed into rolls, mint sets, or drawers and never touched again. And that difference, how a coin survives, is where value begins to separate itself from face value. Let's slowly step into the real numbers. A heavily circulated 1998 D. Kennedy half-dollar, the kind that shows wear on Kennedy's hair and jawline, usually sits between 50 cents and $1. Slightly better examples with lighter wear can reach $2 to $3. But once you move into uncirculated territory, the story changes. Coins graded MS 60 to MS 63 often sell for $5 to $15. These coins still shine, still carry original mint luster, and still show strong design details. When you move higher, MS 65 and above, the competition begins. Coins in MS 65 condition can reach $25 to $40, especially when demand is strong. MS 66 examples often sell between $60 and $120, depending on eye appeal. And then comes MS 67, a level that only a very small number of 1998 D coins achieve. These near-perfect examples can sell for $200, $300, and in some cases even more. At this level, collectors aren't buying metal, they're buying perfection. But we're still not done, because like every serious coin story, there's another layer hidden beneath the surface. The world of mint errors. This is where excitement truly starts to grow. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, double-die errors, clipped planchets, and missing clad layers are mistakes that occur during the minting process. Most are caught and destroyed. A few escape. And when they do, they become instant collector targets. A strong, visible error on a 1998 D. Kennedy $50 can sell for $50, $100, $300, and sometimes even more for dramatic examples. These coins are the reason people never stop checking their change. And now, we reach the part everyone waits for. The $1 million rumor. This is where the internet becomes both powerful and dangerous. Stories get blended. Prices get exaggerated. Rare coins get confused with common ones. And suddenly, a modern $50 is labeled a $1 million coin without context. But you deserve clarity, not hype. Here is the honest truth. No regular 1998 D. Kennedy $50 has ever sold for millions of dollars. No verified auction record, no professional grading service, and no serious numismatic source supports that claim. $1 million prices belong to extremely rare historical coins, precious metal rarities, or one-of-a-kind mint errors that almost never reach public hands. The rumor exists because people mix ordinary coins with extraordinary exceptions, and the story grows bigger every time it's retold. So here's the real takeaway. Your 1998 D. Kennedy $50 is not a $1 million coin. But it is far from meaningless. In high grades, it can be worth hundreds. With a genuine mint error, it can be worth even more. And most importantly, it carries history, symbolism, and the thrill of possibility, something no face value can measure. The $1 million rumor may fade, but the excitement of discovery never does. And somewhere out there, another unexpected rarity is still waiting to be found, quietly hiding in plain sight. Let's move on our second coin in today's series. You might have heard whispers, quiet rumors spreading through collector forums, comment sections, and viral videos suggesting that some Kennedy $50 from the early 1970s are hiding unbelievable value. And among those coins, the 1972 D. Kennedy $50 often slips into the conversation. Never loudly, never clearly, but just enough to make people pause and look twice. Some claim early 70s coins are sleepers. Others insist that certain dates are misunderstood and undervalued. You may have looked at your own 1972 D. $50 and thought, "This looks old. Could this be one of those coins?" That single thought is exactly why you need to stay till the very end. Because behind this ordinary-looking 50-cent piece lies a story of history, survival, real market value, and a truth that gets buried under exaggeration. Before you believe the $1 million rumors, or before you ignore this coin completely, you need the full picture. And today, we're going to uncover it slowly, layer by layer, until nothing is left hidden. The 1972 D. Kennedy $50 comes from a time when the coin had already completed its biggest transformation. By this point, silver was gone from circulating $50, replaced by copper-nickel-clad composition. The emotional rush of the 1960s had faded, and the Kennedy $50 had settled into everyday American life, used, spent, dropped, and exchanged without much thought. This coin was struck at the Denver Mint, marked by the small D beside Kennedy's portrait. On the obverse, John F. Kennedy's profile still stands proud and calm, a design created by Gilroy Roberts that had already become one of the most recognizable faces in U.S. coinage. On the reverse, the presidential seal remains bold, the eagle, the shield, the olive branch, and the arrows, all symbols of strength and balance. Here's what many people don't realize. Even though millions of 1972 D. Kennedy $50 were minted, time did not treat them equally. Most entered circulation immediately. They were stacked, counted, slid across counters, and knocked against other coins for years. As a result, truly clean examples became harder to find as decades passed. And this is where the story begins to change, because rarity in coin collecting isn't always about how many were made, but how many survived in top condition. Now let's step carefully into the real numbers. A heavily circulated 1972 D. Kennedy $50 usually sits right around face value, sometimes reaching $1 or $2 if wear is lighter. Slightly better examples with clearer details may bring $3 to $5. Nothing dramatic so far. But once you move into uncirculated territory, values begin to separate. Coins graded MS 60 to MS 63 typically sell between $8 and $20, depending on eye appeal and luster. As grades climb higher, competition increases. MS 64 coins often reach $25 to $40. MS 65 examples can push into the $60 to $100 range, especially when the surfaces are clean and the strike is strong. Then comes MS 66, a level where far fewer coins exist. At this grade, values can rise to $150, $250, and sometimes more. These are coins that escaped decades of damage and remain impressively sharp. And at MS 67, an extremely rare grade for this issue, prices can cross $500 and even approach four figures. At this level, collectors aren't just buying a coin, they're buying survival against time. But just like every serious coin story, there's another hidden layer. Mint errors. This is where curiosity turns into excitement. Off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, misaligned strikes, and other production mistakes occasionally slipped through the mint in 1972. Most were caught. A few escaped. And when they did, they became collector prizes. A visible, dramatic error on a 1972 D. Kennedy $50 can sell for $50, $100, $300, and in some cases even higher. These error coins are the reason people continue checking old $50 decades later. And now, we arrive at the moment everyone waits for. The $1 million rumor. This is where reality and internet storytelling collide. Over time, early Kennedy halves became associated with silver, rarity, and big auction prices. Stories blurred together. Dates were mixed. Prices were exaggerated. And suddenly, ordinary copper-nickel coins were being labeled as million-dollar treasures. But here is the truth, clear and honest. No regular 1972 D. Kennedy $50 has ever sold for millions of dollars. No auction record, no grading service, and no legitimate numismatic source supports that claim. Million-dollar prices belong to ultra-rare historic coins, gold rarities, or one-of-a-kind mint errors that almost never enter circulation. The rumor survives because people want the dream to be true. So here is the real takeaway. Your 1972 D. Kennedy $50 is not a million-dollar coin. But in high grades, it can be worth hundreds. With a genuine mint error, it can be worth even more. And as a survivor from an era of heavy circulation, it still holds real collector interest. The million-dollar myth may fade, but the excitement of checking, learning, and discovering never does. And somewhere out there, another overlooked coin is still waiting to surprise someone who knows exactly what to look for. Let's move on our third coin in today's series. You might have heard whispers, quiet rumors floating through collector chats, viral videos, and bold captions suggesting that some modern Kennedy $50 are hiding shocking value. And among those modern dates, the 2000p Kennedy $50 often appears unexpectedly, sometimes dismissed as too new, sometimes hyped as a sleeper coin waiting for its moment. Some people believe modern coins can never be valuable. Others insist that rarity doesn't always come from age. You may have looked at your own 2000p $50 and thought, this looks ordinary, but could it be something more? That single thought is exactly why you should stay with me till the very end. Because beneath this clean, modern-looking coin lies a story of changing mint policies, collector behavior, real market value, and a truth that gets lost behind exaggerated headlines. Before you believe the million-dollar rumors, or before you ignore this coin completely, you need the full story. And today, we're going to uncover it slowly, carefully, until the facts speak louder than the hype. The 2000p Kennedy $50 comes from a unique moment in U.S. coinage history. By the year 2000, $50 were rarely used in everyday transactions. Most Americans barely saw them in circulation. Because of this, the U.S. Mint shifted much of its focus toward collector demand rather than daily use. This coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, identified by the P mint mark. The design remained unchanged. President John F. Kennedy's portrait on the obverse, designed by Gilroy Roberts, and the powerful presidential seal on the reverse. Even though the design was familiar, the role of the coin had changed. It was no longer a workhorse of commerce. It had become a quiet collectible. Here's where things start to get interesting. Since $50 weren't heavily used anymore, Many 2000p examples were saved from the very beginning. Some were pulled straight from mint sets. Others were stored in rolls and never spent. That means condition plays an even bigger role in determining value, because collectors now look for perfection rather than survival. Let's move slowly into the real numbers. A circulated 2000p Kennedy half-dollar generally sits between 50 cents and $1. Slightly better examples might reach $2 or $3. But once you step into uncirculated condition, values begin to separate. MS-60 to MS-63 coins often sell between $5 and $15. Clean, attractive MS-64 examples can reach $20 to $35. At MS-65, collector interest becomes stronger. Coins at this level often sell for $40 to $75, especially with bright luster and clean fields. MS-66 examples can reach $100 to $150. And then comes MS-67, a grade achieved by very few examples. These nearly flawless coins can sell for $250, $400, and sometimes more depending on demand. This is where a modern coin proves that age alone does not determine value. But there's another layer hiding beneath the surface. Mint errors. Even in the year 2000, mistakes still happened. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and double dies occasionally escaped the mint. A strong, clearly visible error on a 2000p Kennedy half-dollar can sell for $50, $100, $300, and sometimes higher. These errors are the reason collectors continue to examine modern coins carefully, because surprises still exist. Now we reach the part everyone waits for: the million-dollar rumor. This is where modern coins are often misunderstood. People hear about rare coins selling for millions and assume age doesn't matter at all. Stories get exaggerated. Context disappears. And suddenly, a normal modern half-dollar is labeled life-changing. But here is the honest truth. No regular 2000p Kennedy half-dollar has ever sold for millions of dollars. There is no auction record, no grading report, and no credible evidence supporting that claim. Million-dollar prices belong to extremely rare historical coins, precious metal rarities, or one-of-a-kind mint errors that almost never reach the public. The rumor survives because people want modern miracles to exist. So here's the real takeaway: your 2000p Kennedy half-dollar is not a million-dollar coin. But in top condition, it can be worth hundreds. With a genuine mint error, it can be worth even more. And as part of a changing era in U.S. coinage, it holds real collector interest. The million-dollar myth may disappear, but the excitement of discovering value where others see none will always remain. And somewhere out there, another overlooked coin is waiting for the right eyes to notice it. Let's move on our fourth coin in today's series. You might have heard whispers, low, persistent rumors drifting through collector conversations, online videos, and comment sections suggesting that certain Kennedy half-dollars from the 1980s are hiding unexpected value. And among those dates, the 1986 P. Kennedy half-dollar quietly appears, often overlooked, often underestimated, yet always surrounded by just enough curiosity to make people stop and look again. Some say coins from the 1980s are too modern to matter. Others argue that this is exactly why sleepers exist in this era. You may have held your own 1986 P half-dollar and thought, "This looks ordinary, but is it really?" That question alone is why you should stay with me till the very end. Because beneath this simple 50-cent coin lies a story shaped by changing mint habits, collector behavior, real market numbers, and a truth that viral posts rarely explain correctly. Before you believe the million-dollar rumors, or before you ignore this coin completely, you deserve the full story. And today, we're going to reveal it slowly, carefully, until reality stands clearly in front of you. The 1986 P. Kennedy half-dollar comes from a period when half-dollars were still officially part of circulation, but already beginning to fade from everyday use. This coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, identified by the P mint mark. The familiar design remains unchanged: John F. Kennedy's profile on the obverse, designed by Gilroy Roberts, and the strong presidential seal on the reverse. By the mid-1980s, the Kennedy half-dollar had become more symbolic than practical. People saw it as a keepsake rather than spending money, and many were saved without anyone realizing it. Here's where things start to matter. Because so many people saved these coins casually, many assumed they would always be common. But time tells a different story. Most 1986 P halves were not carefully preserved. They were stacked, slid across counters, and stored loosely. As years passed, contact marks, scratches, and dull surfaces became normal. Truly clean examples became scarcer than most people realize. Now let's move slowly into the real numbers. A heavily circulated 1986 P. Kennedy half-dollar generally sits right at face value, around 50 cents to $1. Slightly better examples with less wear may bring $2 to $3. But once you step into uncirculated territory, values begin to change. Coins graded MS 60 to MS 63 often sell between $5 and $15. These coins still show original mint luster but may have noticeable marks. As quality improves, prices climb. MS 64 examples can reach $20 to $30. MS 65 coins often sell between $40 and $70, especially with strong eye appeal. Then comes MS 66, a grade where competition becomes real. At this level, prices can rise to $100 to $180, sometimes more depending on demand. And MS 67 coins, nearly flawless survivors, are genuinely rare. These examples can sell for $250, $400, and in some cases even higher. At this point, collectors are no longer buying a date, they're buying condition. But we're not finished yet, because like every serious coin story, there's another hidden layer. Mint errors. Even during the 1980s, mistakes still happened at the mint. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and double dies occasionally slipped through. A strong, visible error on a 1986 P. Kennedy half-dollar can sell for $50, $150, $300, and sometimes more. These unexpected mistakes are what keep collectors searching through rolls and old collections decades later. And now, we arrive at the moment everyone waits for. The $1 million rumor. This is where exaggeration takes over. Stories blend together. Rare coins get mixed with common ones. And suddenly, an ordinary half-dollar becomes a $1 million discovery in someone's thumbnail. But here is the honest truth. No regular 1986 P. Kennedy half-dollar has ever sold for millions of dollars. No auction record, no grading service, and no credible numismatic source supports that claim. $1 million prices belong to extremely rare historic coins or unique mint errors that almost never reach circulation. The rumor survives because hope spreads faster than facts. So here is the real takeaway. Your 1986 P. Kennedy half-dollar is not $1 million coin. But in high grades, it can be worth hundreds. With a genuine mint error, it can be worth even more. And as part of a transitional era in U.S. coinage, it holds real collector value. The $1 million myth may fade, but the thrill of discovery never does. And somewhere out there, another ordinary-looking coin is still waiting to surprise someone who knows exactly what to look for. Let's move on our final coin. You might have heard whispers, soft rumors floating through collector groups, comment sections, and viral videos suggesting that some Kennedy half-dollars from the early 1990s are hiding serious value. And among those dates, the 1993 D. Kennedy half-dollar quietly enters the conversation, rarely explained, often misunderstood, and sometimes exaggerated beyond recognition. Some people believe coins from the 1990s are too modern to matter. Others argue that this is exactly where overlooked treasures hide. You may have held your own 1993 D half-dollar and thought, this looks normal, but could there be more to it? That question alone is why you should stay with me till the very end. Because beneath this ordinary 50-cent coin lies a story of survival, collector demand, real market numbers, and a truth that gets lost behind online hype. Before you believe the $1 million rumors, or before you dismiss this coin entirely, you need the full story. And today, we're going to unfold it slowly, carefully, until nothing is left unclear. The 1993 D. Kennedy half-dollar comes from a time when half-dollars were technically still circulating, but rarely seen in daily transactions. By the early 1990s, most Americans had stopped using half-dollars altogether. Many were stored away, forgotten in drawers, jars, and bankrolls. This coin was struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark near Kennedy's portrait. The familiar design remains unchanged. John F. Kennedy's profile on the obverse, designed by Gilroy Roberts, and the strong presidential seal on the reverse. By this point, the design was no longer new, but its symbolism remained powerful. Here's something important most people don't realize. Because half dollars weren't widely used anymore, many 1993 D examples avoided heavy circulation. But that doesn't automatically make them valuable. Many were stored carelessly, stacked in rolls, or handled without protection. Over time, even unused coins picked up marks and dullness. As a result, truly clean, high-grade examples became harder to find than people expect. Now let's slowly move into the real numbers. A circulated 1993 D. Kennedy half-dollar usually holds a value close to face value, around 50 cents to $1. Slightly better examples with minimal wear can bring $2 to $3. But once you reach uncirculated condition, values begin to rise. Coins graded MS 60 to MS 63 often sell between $5 and $15. These coins still show mint luster but may have noticeable contact marks. As quality improves, prices increase. MS 64 examples commonly sell for $20 to $35. MS 65 coins can reach $40 to $80, especially when eye appeal is strong. Then comes MS 66, a grade where scarcity becomes noticeable. Coins at this level can sell for $100 to $200, sometimes higher depending on demand. And MS 67 examples are extremely rare. These near-perfect coins can sell for $300, $500, and occasionally more. At this level, collectors aren't buying age, they're buying condition. But just like every serious coin story, there's another hidden world beneath the surface. Mint errors. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, double dies, and other production mistakes occasionally escape the mint in 1993. A strong, visible error on a 1993 D. Kennedy half-dollar can sell for $50, $150, $300, and sometimes significantly more. These errors are the unexpected surprises that keep collectors searching through modern coins. And now, we reach the moment everyone waits for. The $1 million rumor. This is where exaggeration takes control. Stories get recycled. Rare coins get confused with common ones. Numbers get stretched. And suddenly, an ordinary modern half-dollar is labeled a $1 million find. But here is the honest truth. No regular 1993 D. Kennedy half-dollar has ever sold for millions of dollars. No verified auction record, no professional grading service, and no credible numismatic source supports that claim. $1 million prices belong to extremely rare historical coins, precious metal rarities, or one-of-a-kind mint errors that almost never reach public hands. The rumor survives because hope spreads faster than facts. So here is the real takeaway. Your 1993 D. Kennedy half-dollar is not a $1 million coin. But in high grades, it can be worth hundreds. With a genuine mint error, it can be worth even more. And as a quiet survivor from a changing era of U.S. coinage, it holds real collector interest. The $1 million myth may fade, but the thrill of discovery never will. And somewhere out there, another ordinary coin is still waiting for someone who knows how to look closely.